Claire, good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you, Vu. Hi.
Hi. Good to have you here. So I've known Claire for quite some time, in terms of a year or two now, and she's going to be talking about effective use of technology and training in training and coaching. Very interesting kind of session. This session is going to be going out live to our website, womensmonth.co.za. You are welcome to join the session also on Zoom. So the Zoom details are listed on there. And at the same time, the access code for accessing that particular Zoom call is BWAWomens. You can also follow these sessions on social media, on hashtag WBAWomensMonth, as well for social media links. So Claire, you ready to take over from me?
I'm ready.
All right, let me just do some slight technical side on my side, just to make sure that we roll on. And I'll tell you very shortly when you can actually share your screen. Go ahead, Claire, you can now formally share everything from your side.
Okay.
Are you winning?
I'm winning.
Awesome. So you can take over for my screen sharing. All right.
Okay.
Enjoy the session, everybody, and all the best, Claire.
Thank you. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking to you about using technology in training. My name is Claire Shuttleworth. I'm talking from Shuttleworth Academy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a video, which all of us have probably been through, and we all know the pain of this. So this is a Zoom meeting. Let's just have a look at this.
Beth has joined the meeting. Hello?
Tyler?
No, this is Beth from ICS.
Oh, hey, Beth. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Yeah. Just making it, you know.
Tyler?
Has joined the meeting.
All right, well, this is Trip. Who's here? Tyler's here.
Beth's here.
Okay, the purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the... Yeah, I'll be able to do it in like 30 minutes. John?
Has joined the meeting.
Hi, John. I was just trying to go over the purpose of today's meeting, which is to discuss the Tyler?
Has joined the meeting.
Sorry, guys, I got cut off. Is Paul here? Send him an invite.
Put in your access code.
No, that's your PIN number. It should be a 9-digit number. Try pressing the pound key. Paul.
Has joined the meeting.
Any questions before we move on?
Yes, this is Beth. What's our best plan of attack for the second quarter?
Question I actually should do. Oh, go ahead. Oh, I think we should do. It actually depends on how you look at it, because the really come.
Name and tails. We're at it.
Let me just say that.
Okay.
It's a great graph. Tyler, well, my main concern with objections from Gier was that they're just insufficient. They're not even taking into account. Did we lose Tyler again? Hello? John, are you guys taking distributions?
I'm going to carry on from that. How frustrating is that? I mean, how many of us have actually been in Zoom meetings like that? It drives you mad. So technology is great, but it doesn't always work the way we want to. So a bit about Shuttleworth Academy. We're a services CETA accredited training company, and we have quite a number of years of training experience, and we're here to make a change in people's lives. A bit about myself. I studied physics and computer science in Natal. I've run companies in artificial intelligence, and I've been training. I also am a neuro-linguistic programmer. Now, just for those of you who don't know, neuro-linguistic programming is not computer programming. It's actually programming the mind using language. So what am I going to be covering? I'm going to be looking at more than just an online training. I'm going to look at using virtual reality, what is reality and how can we improve it? I'm going to look at neuroplasticity and biofeedback. Then technology works for us and against us. Changing negative beliefs. So, does using technology in training mean purely putting your courses online? So a lot of people since COVID started have been using things like Moodle to make their technology online. You've also probably learned about Coursera and Udemy. There's a huge amount of people putting courses online. But in training does not only mean that. Technology has advanced so much. There's just so much more that you can do to change people's lives using training and technology. So first of all, this is one of the virtual reality videos that I want to show you. This one is used to help people with fear of heights. So these videos are awesome. What you can do with them are awesome. The second video is to help people who have problems speaking in public. So you practice these scenarios, you get to practice them in virtual reality, and then the actual reality becomes easier.
These results are promising. What impact do you think it may have in the future?
Don't you think that your point of view has certain limitations? How did you choose your presentation's approach?
So how would you feel sitting behind a real meeting like this, a real speech? If you've practiced a couple of times, it does make it easier. What I'm going to show you now comes with a warning for people who are scared of spiders. Can you feel those spiders? The idea is to put you in a scenario where you can work through your fears and actually experience them in a safe environment. Often our reality is our own perception, and we often don't see everything. So especially with things like social media, people put on a front and you see the beautiful parts of life. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, it's horrible. So something that Nassim Haram, the theoretical physicist and founder of Resonance Science Foundation, said is we create our own reality, but reality is creating us. Now, I'm going to get technical for a couple of slides. I think it's 2 slides. The first thing is we need to make sure, according to positive psychology, that for every negative thought, you have at least 3 positive thoughts. So you've got to balance balance the negative. Make sure you keep it in a good balance. There was a Japanese scientist who actually looked at water, and he put words on water, he played the water music, and then he examined the crystal structure. And he actually found that the crystal structure, depending on the words, changed. Now, Nassim Haram, the physicist, has also done this, and he found exactly the same results. So what this is saying to you is that if you actually look at water, for example, you can change water and you can influence water by the words you hear, by the music you listen to. So that's actually fairly awesome considering that our bodies are made up of 70% of water. Then there's another experiment, and this is where it gets very technical. And the other experiment is called the double split experiment, and it's an observance effect particularly. John Wheeler's D-Day choice experiment is the first one. That was done in 1978. Then a famous example is the Wiseman experiment done in 1998. Also, when I was at university in 1991, that was also, we did the double slit experiment. So this experiment has been around for a long time. Most physicists know it, and it's actually provable results. So what this experiment says is the act of observation changes the way electrons behave when passing through openings. If we look at this diagram, okay, on the left, you can see over here at the bottom, there's a light source. Then you've got two slits, and the light is actually passing through the two slits. And at the top, you get the pattern that's shown. Now, in this first one on the left, the photoelectric detectors are on, which means the particles and the light is being observed. What happens is it seems as though a photon seems to pass through one slit, okay? There's no interference pattern will be seen. So the article or the particle acts like the light acts like a particle. On the right, it's exactly the same experiment. The only difference is that the detectors are off, okay? What happens now is the photon seems to pass through both slits at the same time, and then we have an interference pattern. So it acts like a wave. What this is telling us is the effect of the photoelectric detectors being on or off changes what you see. So what this means is a conscious mind can directly affect reality. So listen to that. You can change anything in your life. You can change someone who's on your training course's life by consciously showing them what is real. So that's pretty awesome. One of the technologies that's new and incredibly powerful is biofeedback and neurofeedback. Now, to incorporate this into your training, in particular with virtual reality, you can actually measure exactly what's going on in the person's brain. So, for example, say we were watching that virtual reality video for Scared of Heights. You could actually see how what's happening to people's heart rate. You can see what's happening to the electrodermal response. So for those of you who don't know, electrodermal response is actually a measure of emotion. So you are looking right deep into the person's brain. So if you're training people and you can actually figure out exactly how they're feeling, how they're responding, what we could potentially do and what can be done is you can customize courses around your specific processes. So in other words, you could put in a course for call center, and maybe the call center is a stressful environment for that particular person. You might start off with noise. So some people get frustrated with noise. So you'd have a whole lot of calls going on in the virtual reality, people screaming, people answering phones. Then you might have the next scenario where a client phones in and they're struggling with something. They can't solve it, and you're struggling a bit to solve it as well. There's another scenario. Third scenario might be the client phones in and they are so angry. They are shouting at you because they had to wait on the call. Then potentially for the last scenario, we might actually have the boss coming out and screaming at you and saying, oh no, what on earth is going on? So you'd actually have a whole lot of different scenarios. You'd put your training, your people, your call center staff through this video, and you'd actually connect them up to the EEGs and the biofeedback. You'd be able to see exactly which part of the situation is frustrating them the most. So you can focus your training on the real problems. So you might actually find some person who gets stressed by the environment and the noise. You might find another person who gets stressed by the boss shouting. So this is quite powerful information. So here, the computer says I need to upgrade my brain to be compatible with its new software. This is actually what's happening. This is sometimes how I feel. But now we say, what about the human interaction? I mean, it's all very well to use technology to this extent, but particularly in COVID, we need ongoing coaching, ongoing support for people. There's no ways of getting away from the human interaction. So how can this be done in an affordable way and sort of feasible way? So all of us have learned since COVID about using Zoom and net meeting and other technologies. But sometimes, like that first video I showed you, they can be awkward, and it's not always the way to communicate. Also, if you're having to coach your staff on Zoom, it becomes expensive when you've got to constantly do it, and every single day you're doing an hour of coaching to your staff. So there's different ways of handling this, and I'll talk to you about some of those just now. I'm just going to show you one more video, which I found very entertaining.
Everybody say bye and then date on the phone. All of them. Look at this woman's eyes. She's like, okay, wait, something's about to happen here. I'm going to continue watching. Daddy! He didn't have headphones on before. Did he have headphones on before? How can he not hear them through the computer? Daddy! Can you hear us? Daddy! Oh, no. Oh, Jen, call him. Oh, my gosh. I thought this was fake for a second, but the fact that they're laughing so hard, she had to call him? Oh boy. What's up? Daddy, I can see you here.
Using technology. I actually had an experience when I was consulting to a company in Israel. The guy actually went to the toilet. And he forgot to turn his sound off. So hopefully we all remember how important it is to turn your video off, to turn your sound off, and to leave videos at an appropriate time. So one of the problems with using technology and Zoom meetings is that it doesn't actually follow up for you often enough. And you can only do it so often. So what we've actually looked at is building a mobile app that follows up for you, so you can actually reinforce change, and it will constantly back up their changes, reinforce those changes that they want to make. So one of the things that this mobile app does is it helps you, before I get to the removing negative beliefs, it helps you set up your goals, set up your focus in life. So what actually do you want to focus on? It might ask you questions around your focus, like what would the young you or the old you say to the opposite now? So you would say, what would the old you say to the young you? What advice would your future self give to your current self? Would you have any regrets if you continue as you are? So it really asks you probing questions. You input those answers onto the system, but you do all of that in training. So you go through this, you do the process, and you get trained. The idea of the system is actually just when you've left the training, that it can give you reminders, it can actually follow up for you and make those changes more stable. So when you're looking at removing a belief, what you've got to do is identify this belief. So maybe the belief might be something like, I don't feel good enough. A lot of us feel that in life, and we need to work out this belief and actually change it. Now, the sad thing is that often when you have a belief like that, you find these ridiculous excuses to actually make that belief useful. So one of my habits that I need to change is eating chocolate. And I can come up with a million reasons why I need chocolate and it's good for me. So you actually need to get rid of those, debunk those useful ideas. Next, you need to actually say, what would be a better belief? So going back to the I'm not good enough, if we had to look at that belief, something that I'd like to believe instead is that I'm absolutely fabulous. So you look at that and you say, what will happen if I don't change? Now, these are the motivating questions. So you actually want to make this really, really bad. So if I don't change, if I carry on believing I'm not good enough, probably lots of people aren't going to actually respect me. My children might not respect me. My boss might think, oh, well, she can't, if she doesn't think she can do it, she probably can't do it. So it's pretty much going to go badly. You might lose your job. You'll probably run out of money, and it's going to be a disaster. Then you ask yourself, what will happen if I do change? And here you can make it absolutely awesome. If I start believing I'm fabulous, how will it act? How will it feel? What will be the difference? If I think I'm fabulous, probably going to find that I do better in my job because I've got so much confidence. My children will respect me. My wife will think I'm amazing. So everything comes down to motivating. You put these questions into your mobile app, and then the idea is that the system will send you randomly generated messages to make this reinforced. And the idea is that you then become fabulous. So this is a screen of the belief change. And what you can see here is you've got the old pattern, the new pattern, what will change if I don't, what will happen if I don't change, what will happen if I do change. And something I didn't actually mention is, how do I know I can? Okay, so here you might say things like, actually, evidence relating to yourself. So it might be, my wife told me I was wearing an awesome dress, or it might be that my boss told me that the financial report I did last week was really, really good. That's evidence that you are good enough. That's evidence that you are fabulous. If you can't find any evidence like that, because some of us just struggle to feel when we're depressed, we struggle to feel that, you can actually go and look for evidence about other people who achieved something similar. So for example, it's never too late to start. Look at the guy who invented Kentucky Fried Chicken. He actually only started his business when he was 70. So there you've got support that, or evidence that anything is possible. What will happen is the system will send you reminders. And the system takes a whole lot of beliefs. So you're going to work through a whole lot of beliefs that you think are negative and that are holding you back. Change all of them. And then the system will send you random messages. Maybe the first time it will send, remember that you believe you are fabulous because you completed your financial report on time and you were complimented on your speech. The next time it might send you something relating to a different belief, or maybe a habit that you had to change. And it might send something like, remember, you have to stop eating chocolate, because if you don't, you're going to end up being huge and it's going to affect your confidence. It might end up saying to you, remember, you are gorgeous as you are. So the system will actually generate these beliefs or these messages randomly. What ends up happening is when you get these messages, it almost ends up affecting you, like you feel it's a message from something special because it comes at the right time. That's what I've found when I've put my belief changes on the system. And you feel it really affects you. And you then go through that day with that new mind, and it just makes you feel different. The other thing on the system was that we've got a concept called success log. Now, for me, a success log is recording every single thing that you have successful. Okay, so It might be like you've lost weight. All of these things get logged into your success log. And what ends up happening is one day when you feel down, you can just go to your success log and suddenly be reminded. For me, when I feel down, I find there's nothing. I can just sit there and I struggle to remember the things that I was successful about. I struggle to remember the things that made me feel good. So for this type of thing, to actually just have a list of things that you were successful with. Now, the other thing, just on the success log, is we actually, every time you finish a goal or every time you finish a task, it actually automatically updates the success log as well. So you don't have to always be updating this manually, but it also gets from what you're achieving on the system. So in summary, what we've gone through is, first of all, our perception of reality is not always the only view. We can change our reality by observing it. So, for example, by observing the crystals, by observing the double split experiment, we can change our reality. The idea behind the training is to go deep into the mind. So not just flutter around where everyone goes. We actually want to go deep into the mind, figure out how you're thinking, figure out how you're feeling, and make a change at that level. And the important thing is to always take action. So nothing changes if you don't take action. And then you need to follow up. We also need to keep the scale right. Remember, we had that scale where we had the negatives and the positives. We need to make sure that is balanced. And then the important thing is believe and feel that you're achieving your desire. So really feel it. Don't just think, oh, I've put this goal down, I'm going to get there. Feel the change. Feel what it feels like when you've made the change and get into that new body. Then the thing we've always got to do is reinforce the change, remind people that they've made the change, and then go around in a loop and actually refine. So what we've got to do is refine, for example, go and change our goals, update our belief changes, because we're constantly changing. We're constantly changing the way we feel, what we need to do, and the tasks we need to do. So to be your best, most effective you, we will need to look at how you exist in this world. And something I totally believe, it's never too late and everything is possible. You just need to change your mind. So if it's possible to affect your own reality by observing it, if it's possible to change the shape of water crystals just by putting words in it, by listening to certain music, that gives you so much power. So what we've got on the Soul Coach course, we've got 3 different levels of the course. Level 3, level 4, which is the same as Matric, and level 5, which is just above Matric. These courses are all CETA accredited. What we look at in the course for Module 1 is the science of change. So we go into briefly the double split experiment. We go into briefly the possibilities of changing water crystals. There's some other items we also look at. Then we look at different ways of identifying your or someone else's needs. Now, this course is not just for an individual who wants to change their lives. It's also for maybe you're in a corporate and you've got coaches in the company and you want them to coach your staff. So they need to look at actually how do we talk, how do we identify someone else's needs, okay? And then to help the individuals find their passion and define it. Now, it's all very well to have a passion, but you need to get specific about it the same way you do with goals. Everyone's heard about SMART goals. You need to get the same with your passion. So design it specifically, make it achievable, make it measurable, and actually track it and put your tasks under it. If you don't put tasks under each goal, you need to take the first step. Sometimes though, even though we've got goals and tasks in, we need to ask ourselves, how do you identify negative beliefs and fears? And you need to do this for yourself as well as for the coaches. The coaches need how to learn to do this for the people in their course or in their business that they're working with. It's often difficult, and you often just have to ask a whole lot of questions. It's about the questions you ask. What we'll do is we'll have a first virtual reality session, and the idea behind this is to gauge the levels, to gauge where their fears are, to actually get focus on what needs to be trained for the next module. The idea as well is that when you do your virtual reality session, we record your EEG, we record your neurofeedback, so your heart rate and your electrodermal response. So we're recording all the inputs that we need to be able to find to identify what your emotion is. The reason we record it and store it is so that the next time you go into a training session, you actually can measure the changes. So it's all very well to say, no, we're changing people's lives and it's so great. We actually want to measure the changes. So here again, we've got to look at what your goals are and how to make them work best for you. Set goals and take the first 2 tasks for every goal. So say you've set a goal that you want to start a new company. What would the first thing be? You've got to define what your company is going to do. What value does your company offer? What are you going to do different? So your first task will actually be around doing those steps, finding out what your value add would be. Look at what's stopping you from achieving that goal. So again, going back to your limiting beliefs. If you're starting a new company, something that you might find is stopping you is getting the money to start the company. Then there's lots of things that you can do to get money. For example, you can go for crowdfunding, you can go for grants if there are any, and you can find different ways of making the money. So remove your limiting beliefs, find ways to open up your eyes and look at broader possibilities. And then we also teach you about the success log and how to actually record your successes. We have a short session on visualizing and feeling the change. So a lot of people reckon this is probably the most important thing, is to actually feel the change and visualize the change. So we need to start believing it. Module 2, we go into slightly more complicated sessions. It's often directed by following up, refining, and looking at the goals and the tasks in more detail, and doing more VR sessions, diving deeper into the brain and actually finding out exactly what's holding you back, what's stopping you. Now, from a corporate point of view, say we were doing this course for a call center, we'd focus on the goals for the business. So what's your passion in the business? Are you in the right position? Could you do something else in the business? And how can you make your goals best suit your boss's goals? So you actually try and align where you would fit best in the company. So it's not just for individuals, it actually is also for corporates and for companies. Now, the really cool thing is how to make this affordable. Who knows about SARS funding and CETA funding and things like that? You can actually, if you do your training with a fully accredited training company, if you're paying your skills development levy, you can actually use SARS and CETA options to make this training not only free, but possibly even get your money back. So for example, on the SARS side, if you start a training course, it's actually a learnership. If you start one, you will get at the beginning of the year, you will get a 40,000 Rand tax rebate for starting. So say for example, the training course costs 17,000. It's a whole year's long training course. Your staff, you will get, for every staff member you put on that platform, they will get 40,000 at the beginning of the year. And at the end of the year, when they successfully complete their training, you will get another 40,000. There's also the Youth Development Grant, which is about another 11,000. So this means that if you're spending 17,000 per person, you can actually get over 90,000 back. So you do the maths. Apart from that, you're also getting trained staff. And the other thing is that you get BEE points. So for a company, your BEE is calculated out of 100. Training counts for 20 plus 5 extra points. So if you train a lot, if you get your people on training, you can get 25 points for your BEE. Something that is important to me is you've got to do your passion. And life without passion is not living, it's merely existing. I always follow my dreams, sometimes to the detriment of my financial status, but you've got to follow your dream. So I'm going to show you a video after this, but here are our contact details: info@shuttleworthacademy.co.za. If you are interested in doing a training course or seeing how we can help you, please send us your details. Okay, I'm going to show you a training course video.
Hi, this is Wendy Shuttleworth, and I want to introduce you to an awesome, stunning system. Hi, this is Wendy Shuttleworth. I've done many self-development courses and corporate training. I am a trainer, a coach, a counselor, and we all go through good and bad times. And the trick of life, I found, is to shorten the bad times and to keep focused and make the good times better and bigger and louder. So we all go on these courses and we're all motivated and we're ready to boogie and get all our goals achieved. And then a few days later, a few weeks later, so I sat down with my sister and I said, you know, we don't need a coach or a workshop every 6 months. We need something that reminds us day to day, something in our pocket that reminds us day to day, specifically, not smile and the world smiles with you. It's great, you know, but that actually talks to you specifically. You need to achieve this task, otherwise your life will da-da-da-da-da. Your child will da-da-da-da-da. So specific examples related to you in your personal and work environment. So I sat with my sister and I said, we need a system that can do this, tailored per individual, in your pocket, every day of your life. And we developed this awesome system. We have courses and counselors to back it up and to help you gain the insights you need to. And I hope to meet you one day. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Claire. We all want things out of life. We know what we need to do to get them. We need to set goals, take steps, affirmations. We've heard all of this before. But we believe there's more. We believe you need to get real direction. You need to remove limiting beliefs. You need to record your successes. How often do we remember our failures but not our successes? And you need to get constant reminders to reconfirm, to make sure you're on track, and to make sure you get there. I'm going to introduce you to your soul coach. We built this system to solve these problems. So the first thing we're going to look at is meaning. What do you really want out of life? What do you want your loved ones to say? What do you want for yourself personally? Would you have any regrets if you continue as you are? What wisdom would the old you tell the young you now? Really think about these questions and make sure the goals you're working on are actually what you want out of life. Once you've thought about your meaning, we go in and we input goals. Now, what makes our system, we have the concept a validator, which can be an outside person who can give you feedback against a specific goal or specific task. If you set up a goal and don't set up any tasks linked to this goal, you will get reminders. You will never achieve a goal if you don't take the first step. The system will remind you. The system will keep nagging you. Under tasks, we can set up specific tasks and we get, again, reminders. When we're setting up a task, we sit down and we say, but I can't do this. I'm just not good enough to get the promotion. We need to reframe these limiting beliefs away. What we've got on this side, and this is a very important part of the system because we need to remove these blocks. Often these blocks are ignored. A new pattern. What are we going to focus on? What is our new empowering belief? Then we have what will happen if I don't change. Make it really, really bad. The system's going to remind you, if you don't make this change, this is what's going to happen to you. And what will happen if I do change? Make this really, really good because again, reminding, if you do achieve this, this is what could happen in your life. Make it personal. Use personal names because either evidence that's general evidence or it might be specific to you where you've actually achieved it before. The more evidence you load against a new belief, the stronger the belief becomes. If you've got a belief and you sort of believe it because one thing happened, it's a very weak belief. But if you've got 20 things that back up this new, get blocked. We've got affirmation section as well where you can set up affirmations and they can be personalized so they mean more to you. It's a chat where you can either chat to your online coach or you can ask a friend of yours to give you feedback on a certain aspect in life. Section called success logs. Now, success logs are where you record your successes. Actually, take down where you've done amazingly well. Maybe you want to say, I won the year-end prize. When you save this, the system will say, okay, you've won this prize. What belief does this reconfirm? So you're constantly adding more and more evidence to your beliefs, which means, again, those beliefs become stronger and stronger and more positive, and you're more likely to reach your goals. Also, the reality is we all have bad days. So one day, if you have a bad day, you can just come and look at your success log and think, wow, I'm amazing. On the video help, we've got a whole section of videos that are loaded. Some of them are our personal videos. Some of them are outside videos. Go and search for what you're looking for. Maybe you want to find out, why are you always having angry fights with people? Maybe you want to find out what's holding you back. Go and search for it. Let the system work for you. Let the system make the difference in your life. Let the system make the changes that you need to so that you keep getting the reminders. The system will make sure your new beliefs stick. The system will make sure your tasks to my introduction.
So that sort of brings me to the end of the talk. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. What I'd like to know is if anyone has some, I did get feedback from some people who were trying to watch that the system went down and that they couldn't get into the video, what happened there. But I think that's me done. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Does anyone
I think
have
we can,
questions? Nathaniel?
I think, yes, I certainly have some questions, and I'll look to see if we've drawn any other questions. Unfortunately, we've been having some technical issues. Again, apologies to those of you who've tuned in to the session and have struggled to access the platform. In terms of some of the questions that I certainly had in mind, and I think in many ways we seem to be having a common thread throughout the day. So I'm gonna ask the same similar question that I asked earlier with Ilona around preparation. that participants need to have in ensuring that not only do they use the right technology, but it drives them towards the right outcomes. So what would be your advice to anybody tuning in around how best to follow the vision of what they have in terms of, again, leveraging technology to achieve that outcome? What advice would you give them for that?
So I think what I'd actually, that can always change. So maybe what's important initially is to say, okay, our first step is to put our courses online. That is almost critical right now in this day and age with COVID. After you've done that, I think we also need to look at social media and your website and other aspects that are absolutely critical. Once you've done that, you can actually go further and look at other tools you might want to use, how you're going to standardize and how you're going to get clients. So maybe a CRM system, and then look at I think it would differ for every single business. So if you've got a business that does accounts, it might be completely different from a business that does training. Does that answer your question?
I think partially, but I think what I would want to see maybe or understand is for any other business beyond a training business, what kind of choices or principles do people have around adopting to technology as they drive training and coaching to their people?
So I think probably for training, there's a lot of courses out there that you can use that are online. So you don't need to have your people off site. You can trial there in the office and at their own time, maybe in the evenings. You can, I think the thing is, I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me, Claire? Is that okay? Go ahead.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
So I think basically the important thing is to actually look at how you can use people's time best. And if you're using people's time, what can you give them training? Can you benefit them? And is there anything else you can do? If that answered your question, I had it before.
Okay. So I think what I'm still trying to kind of get to grips with is, I mean, we all have access to these technologies, but the bigger question, and I think we also, in this environment, in this period that we're in, increasingly are being forced to look for digital solutions to optimize our operations, to reach our customers. Perhaps what I'm trying to understand is what should be the critical principal drivers that inform a business owner on, when is the most effective time for them to leverage and make use of the technology and move away from physical or a more kind of direct way of engaging not only their customers, but also their staff in kind of empowering them during this period. Is there anything in your experience that you feel, is there a particular need point? Are there any particular drivers or driving principles that push people to take those decisions that you can share?
Well, I think one of the big driving principles is that COVID has impacted us. So we do need to go more digital because we aren't able to see everyone all the time. So that's one of the big things that are driving us towards technology, which I think is an extremely good thing. What drives you to training or to educating your people, obviously, if you've got time, if they also something that drives you. So a huge
And again,
drive towards technology.
Mm.
I think the other, everyone else, all your competition is moving towards technology. So we need to be realistic about actually moving in that direction. Glenda, would you like to add anything?
Perhaps let me bring my question to Shuttleworth Academy. You guys have you've moved your training fully digital. You're delivering it fully digital. If I'm a executive and I'm a business owner who's contemplating taking my staff on a journey of digital training, what are the principles or decisions I need to be considering when making the decision to take that business and make that opportunity available to an organization like Shuttleworth Academy?
I think there's a couple of, am I on, Vu?
You are on, go for it.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I think that there's a couple of things people need to consider. Is you need to first of all do a skills audit on what kind of skills do you want to transfer, and then is the medium you're going to transfer them in the correct medium for that choice. Also look at, do people have airtime? We've got to consider that. And do they have the right equipment to go on the courses? Another thing is you've got to look at the emotional maturity of your learner. Some learners, unfortunately, don't have the emotional maturity to study on their own, even though we'd like to think they do. They'd rather go and make coffee and do stuff like that instead. So I think those are the important things. And then you need to consider what kind of skills and how are you transferring them. If you're talking about getting over fears and negative problems, you can't just have somebody go on a course and read about it. They've got to experience it. So then you have to look, if you are doing it via technology, how can you do it differently that they can still get the experience? And that's what Claire was showing in her videos, is we give them actual immersions or activities so they actually get to experience the activities. Because you often don't learn just by reading a book. You need to live it, feel it, experience it right into your body. And then you transfer the skills. And then practice it. How are you going to practice it afterwards? So it's about taking the learning and how we help companies implement it in the workplace. And the other thing people have to consider is how they're going to get their money back. How they're going to get their return on their investment. Because you're not just training for training's sake. You're training for change. You're training for impact. So that's why I started off by saying you need to look at what skills do you want to transfer. What is your burning need? What is the itch that you need to transfer that has to change for your company to carry on during this COVID and this chaos? You need managers that can lead in chaos. You need staff that are willing to follow in chaos. You need to counsel, because everybody has an uncle or an aunt or somebody that is getting sick that they know. So people don't perform at their best when they're in drama. And unfortunately, a lot of South Africa is in drama at the moment. So you need to look at what you want to train and what's the return on investment and how you're going to keep your people being productive and implementing in the workplace and how you're going to pay for it. And you can do it in ways that you actually make profit. So instead of your staff sitting at home drinking lots of coffee, let's make them effective. Let's get them doing something, learning new skills, so that after COVID or even during COVID, we turn the corner and we reinvent ourselves as a company, change direction if we need to, but that we get people that are motivated, sorted out in their head, they're not going through too much drama, but motivated and keen to actually advance their skills and develop themselves. Does that answer your question, Vu?
It does, quite extensively. In fact, can I pick up something that you said and just kind of segue into it?
Yes.
You spoke quite a lot about the importance of balancing, you know, the mental and emotional well-being along with coaching.
Yes.
How do you deliver, you know, what are you is there an offering that Shuttleworth Academy has around that support mechanism for soft skills that can be delivered digitally to employees and staff in an organization?
Yes, we do have that option. We have full qualifications as well as skills programs and soft skills. So we do have that. And we use different techniques to implement and get the actual skill into the person's mind, body, and soul. We have call centers, we've got team building, leadership courses, time management, contact center, project management. There's a lot of different skills. Some accredited, some not accredited. Finding your passion, aligning performance management during difficult times. A lot of people are struggling with that. How do they performance manage their staff when their staff are sitting at home, you know, and you don't know what they're doing? So we've also got quite a lot on trust and communication, because that also plays a part in these times. How do you trust your staff for doing what they're meant to be doing?
And again, thanks for that, Wendy. So I want to align it a little bit with the current month as well, because one of the key drivers with the Business Women Association of South Africa is, again, the challenges related to workplace emotional kind of disruptions, in as far as workplace harassment, in as far as gender-based violence. Can you comment as well how you, again, train or advise or coach in these particular areas as it relates to issues of gender impact and workplace disruptions?
We do a lot on diversity and inclusion and collaboration and resilience, because we need to build the resilience of our staff. And when I'm talking about resilience, I mean the ability to adapt and jump back on the horse when they fall off. How do we, because we all go through the hard times, and so do our staff. And as a company, we've got to be understanding that our staff also go through hard times. And then they have to be able to adapt and get back on. So we do have quite a bit of training on that, and teaching them how to get back on the horse. We've also got quite a bit on abuse, because one of my passions is women abuse and helping women break the cycle. So we've got courses that looks at the cycles that people and the games people play, because we get caught into different games and play that people don't even realize that they're in until you sit down and you say, well, maybe your boss is abusing you, or maybe your coworker is. And I'm not talking always sexual abuse, that can happen, but also emotional and physical abuse, and how you have to sometimes manage upwards. Even though it's your manager, how do you address these issues with your manager? Maybe you have to manage sideways, you know, or up a few levels. Maybe the senior guy is giving the woman a hard time. How do you manage that? So we do have courses on that. It's actually my passion. One of my passions is helping women identify the game or pattern they play, and helping them choose a more positive, resilient attitude that can help them bounce back no matter what happens.
And again, so thanks to both Wendy and Claire Shuttleworth from the Shuttleworth Academy. You've left us with a lot of time, and we've had, unfortunately, some technical challenges throughout the day today, in as far as getting all our participants in. So again, I continue to apologize to all the participants who had taken the time to sign up for this session. We had already 30 confirmed participants for this particular session, and I know that throughout the day we have had over 2,000 people, but I think because of our technical issues, we've let a few people down. But let me just tell the audience that these videos will be available again on the womensmonth.co.za website, where people can catch up on these videos, can watch these videos, and the content will continue to be available even beyond Women's Month. Allow me the opportunity to thank Wendy and Claire for having presented Shuttleworth Academy. You're welcome to connect with them and join them in their work, if you go to shuttleworthacademy.co.za and reach out to them to take this conversation further. Claire, are you offering any discounts or any incentives for anybody who reaches you who would have attended the session?
I think we will be offering a discount. We'll offer a 10% discount for anyone who does actually reach out to us. So,
well, thanks to you guys. Again, let's make sure they use the right hashtag when they claim that discount. So please make sure that you quote or you acknowledge hashtag BWAWomens Month in your request when you send an email to the Shuttleworth Academy. I believe it's info@shuttleworthacademy.co.za. So do reach out to the team, not only to claim your discount, but if you're a business owner looking for a digital solution to drive and continue training to your staff, if you're an HR director or people manager looking for an opportunity to engage and to connect with a provider that's CETA certified, that's offering digital-based training, look no further than Shuttleworth Academy. Let me thank you, ladies, for your time. And again, the next session this afternoon will be at the top of the hour at 5 o'clock, where we'll be talking about digitizing your business and digitizing your sales and looking for leads using digital marketing tools. That will be delivered by Blue Digital, Sinise from Blue Flamingo Digital. Thanks to everybody who took the time to join the session. And go ahead, Claire.
Thank you very Vu, for giving us this opportunity, and lovely
pleasure, guys.
Talk to you.
Thanks, and we'll continue to look forward to having these kind of sessions as we move forward. And all the best to you guys as you continue again training the nation.
Thank you.